People that work or have worked in bikini waxing salons. What is the worst disturbing experience you have come across while giving someone a bikini wax? NSW. This wasn't really something gross that the client did, but something that the esthetician did. I'm currently in school for aesthetics, and one of my instructors was telling us about a former student who was scheduled her first Brazilian appointment. Everything went well until she got to the woman's butthole and she wasn't really sure what to do with it, so she scooped some hard wax up with a popsicle stick, spread it across and stuck it inside her butthole like we do with nose waxes. Well, I'm puckered shut. Got full on Hank Hill butt right now. I have one. A girl came into my salon a month before she got married. She had never groomed her pubic hair and claimed to be a virgin. She wanted to be waxed right before her wedding. Completely natural, right? I recommended she get a wax now, and another before the big day, since there was no way of knowing how her prized lady bits would react to the wax. She declined and set an appointment 3 days before her wedding. Fair enough. When she came back, I was not prepared for the amount of pubic hair she had. It was unusual for a fair-skinned blonde client to have long coarse black hair, but whatever, it's my job. So I trim her up, clean her, and prepare to wax her. Again, she had ungodly amounts of dark hair. Even trimmed, her skin was barely visible. So after inspecting her and not seeing any issues, I begin waxing. I crap you not, she had skin tags and perturbing moles that I did not see before starting. To get to the point, I pulled a strip from her labia area and pulled off about 20 skin tags. She yowled. The entire salon heard, and then she started bleeding, like gushing blood. We know how to handle bleeding pores, but I had never heard of this. So we're both screaming and crying, and I have to call her an ambulance because she would not stop bleeding. I thought I almost killed her. Maybe not the grossest story, but it was traumatic. I changed professions soon after. I imagine her wedding night wasn't magical either. Sounds like HPV, not skin tags. I used to be an esthetician, and I'll never forget the first Brazilian I ever gave a girl. I was inexperienced, so to get the butt area I made her go on all fours. After I powdered up her butt, I was holding her cheeks open and closely examining the direction of her hair growth so I'd know which direction to spread the wax, as I was trained to do. Then all of a sudden I see her butthole opening and closing and opening and closing, and then bam, she fully farted in my face. She was super embarrassed and said it was an air bubble. Didn't smell like one though. It was just saying hi. Briefly worked as a waxer after I graduated from cosmetology school. Quit after this dude kept coming in with larger and larger anal beads in his ass. Accidentally get wax on the bead handle and pull. Watch him roar like a lawnmower. Not a waxer but a client. Waxer asked what I was doing on my phone, and I informed her that I could hit 2 Pokestops at the salon. I lured one while getting wax because why not? One thing led to another and she started singing the Jigglypuff song as she waxed my butthole. I'm bummed she left. I'm sad this comment is so far down because it is charming. Esthetician here. My worst experience was a full Brazilian wax on an extremely obese woman. I was relatively new to the field and lacked the experience to deal with this type of situation. I couldn't get the angles right. I felt so awkward asking her to hold her stomach that blanketed over her vagina, and her legs were just too large for me to actually reach the area. She was unable to bend the legs properly. I think at one point I lost wax between a fold and had to pry the skin hair apart to apply the strip. I remember my back hurting from the way my body was positioned, frantically trying to finish on time for my next client, and so much sweat, both of us. It was the dead middle of summer. I'm sure a seasoned esthetician may have been able to handle this better, but that's my worst experience. Thank you for your service. I currently work at a waxing center and I have had many foul experiences. I love my job, but sometimes I wonder why I still do this. A new client had come in for a full Brazilian. She was no older than 17 and it was her first time doing it. I was trying to make her as comfortable as possible and explain everything I was doing. So we finish the front and I tell her to flip over and hold her butt cheeks so I can do the butt strip. I apply the wax over her butthole. I guess she wasn't expecting it because she farted and blew a bubble with the wax. It popped so loudly that it echoed in the room. I had never seen anything happen like that before. I could see she was humiliated and I was embarrassed for her. I immediately turned around and started fumbling with anything I could get my hands on to pretend I didn't just see what happened. I never saw that girl again. I have a story from a client of mine about a previous coworker. So I have this client coming in for a Brazilian. As soon as we are in the room, she warns me that last time she was in, she didn't like her last experience and let me know that she has her clit pierced. I was like, cool, no probs. Thanks for the heads up. Let's try to make this better. I figured she lifted or bruised. So we get started, and there's the piercing. No biggie. Well, halfway through, she starts talking, and I was like, I hope this has been a better experience for you. I wouldn't want a repeat of last time, and she explains that it wasn't the waxing. It was the waxer. Apparently, when she explained her piercing to the previous esthetician, she pulled the towel back and patted the pierced clit without gloves, saying how she has never seen one of these before. Under no circumstance are you to directly touch a client there. The woman was not impressed and refused to return until she was sure the previous esthetician was no longer employed. So it's not really my experience. I just felt bad for my client. Whoa, okay, I know that you are showing your most intimate parts, and there's a lot being touched down there, but to touch the clit is a huge no-no. Like WTH. Oh, I have a story. I am not a waxer, but one time I was getting waxed at a new place and thought things were going just fine. I was making small talk with the esthetician while all spread-eagled on the table. She was facing away getting her supplies ready and she started sniffling and I thought she might be crying. I was like, okay, I know it's been a while, but I can't be that shocking. And I asked, hey, are you okay? And she turned around just full on ugly snot crying and explained to me that the appointment before mine was her recent ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend. Oh man, that would be so awful. Bulging hemorrhoids. I never knew two words that could sound so fricked up before. Thanks for that mental image. My roomie had one today and said the lady doing hers went, see that pillow in the corner, we used to have it over here for y'all to clutch onto for comfort until a lady started hitting me with it. Now it stays in the corner. A worm fell out of someone's butthole when I was waxing it. A tiny, little maggot wild looking worm. Finally a worm reply. My instructor in cosmetology school told me about a time when they had to practice anal waxing and the way she was supposed to do it involved her putting talcum powder on the butthole area. So she powders the person up and as she's grabbing something else from her work table, the person lets out an airy toot and a little fluff cloud of powder came with it. She couldn't contain herself and had to do the assignment another day, haha. Lol, I just imagined this little comic strip in my head with the word toot and a speech bubble coming out of someone's butt. How many guy clients come in to get waxed, asking for a friend? A place in Omaha advertises the baseball special, the bat, the balls, and the dugout. My waxy lady and I talk about this all the time. She said girls come in on their periods all the time. She doesn't mind as long as there's a tampon in place and it's clean. Some ladies don't comply. She's seen women who haven't properly wiped their BH after taking a dump. But the weirdest thing she saw was a girl who was born without an butthole. I don't know who, why, how, what, where, but yeah, that's weird. Unfortunate. Mostly. My buddy was born without a butthole. They ripped him new one shortly after he was born. The best part, I kid you not, he has the ability to suck air and water into his butt and expel it again. I never went to the pool with him again after that. I've had a few Brazilians done and I asked my waxer what her worst experiences were and she said there are so many people who come straight from the gym or their afternoon jog or their strenuous workplace without showering or anything. How can you have that little self-awareness? Reading that smelled bad. My friend is esthetician. She has sent ladies to the gym for growths, aromas, etc. She says it's about once a month that she has to have that awkward talk with a client. The worst one she ever told me about was a sweet older lady with a labial abscess. Poor woman, it must have hurt like heck. She had it treated and came back to say thank you. Not a waxer but a spray tanner. For well-endowed women of the bust or butt, the policy is arms overhead or turn around and bend over. Only if absolutely necessary do you lift with the back of the hand and spray underneath. On this lovely day I had a particularly hefty woman come in and she don't want no tan lines. It was time for turn around and bend over. Lift the butt and what looked like a week old sopping brown tampon comes slurping out. Bounces off the back of my hand and splats on the floor. I always feel so self-conscious before going for a bikini wax, and I always tell myself they've seen worse. Thanks for confirming that. Yeah, I'm suddenly feeling really good about myself. Used to work with a girl whose second job was as a waxer. She would regale us with stories of this one repeat client who would get holiday themed designs. So not only would she create Christmas trees and Valentine's hearts for her, but would also have to dye them the appropriate color. That is amazing, not disturbing. I got a full Brazilian as a dude. Female esthetician works on me. My GF is waiting in the lobby. After she's about halfway through the front she asks if she can ask a slightly unprofessional question. I say sure. She says she's never seen a circumcised penis before but didn't ask me any actual question. Just made the comment. The worst part was that the walls were thin so pretty much the whole lobby heard the conversation. I think the toughest thing I've ever seen through as a waxer was a minor getting a Brazilian. Yes, her parent knew and signed a consent form, who didn't clean herself properly. Looked like she had diarrhea and wiped back to front. With super thick hair and I got stuck pulling a labia strip. It was my fault. I didn't cleanse and poke around thoroughly enough before I started, but I almost went to go get a co-worker BC. I thought I was going to need help pulling it off. Client was a champ though, bore with me throughout the whole process. Definitely the toughest experience I've had, even beyond the 400 plus LB ladies I see. I've been a body waxer for 5 years now, and we are a special breed. It's almost like nursing when it comes to putting on the professional face when we're confronted with something gross. But TBH, it's really not that bad of a profession. Smells yes, some excretions yes, blood yes, even poop sometimes yes. But you're there to do a job, and if you're good enough at it you push through it. These people are opening up an incredibly vulnerable part of their body to a complete stranger. The last thing I want to do is scar them for life by making a face or a rude comment. So shake some extra powder on there and keep laying those strips. It'll be over soon enough. Smells yes, some excretions yes, blood yes, even poop sometimes yes. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to my office job. I once was a gross customer by pure accident. My former girlfriend liked the idea of shaving your chest etc. The less hair I got on my body the better. Blah blah blah. Insert story here. I did bleed so heavily out of every damn pore on my chest that the lady stopped mid-session. After the bleeding had stopped somewhat I helped cleaning up, paid and left. The bruises were visible for several weeks. I did never try waxing again. Not really gross. Fairly common during waxing, especially with first timers. If you do try it again, exfoliate the area leading up to your appointment. Makes the hair come out a tad easier. A friend who did waxing for a while. She had a guy come in and request her waxing for his taint ass area. When she did, the guy orgasmed on release. It was obviously awkward. The guy apologized profusely, and it was a no harm no foul but don't do it again situation. Well, of course he returned after some time and he came again. They banned him from returning. I want to learn how to orgasm that easy. I'm a vet and we had a client come in who did waxing at her home. Unfortunately, her curious dog got a bit too close and tipped the whole pot of wax over itself. It was a very long and not so fun day for the pup and everyone involved. That stuff is super hard to get off. At one point in my aesthetics career I did a lot of waxing, like 12 Brazilians a day, so I have seen smelt some horrifying crap. The most memorable WTF moment was while waxing a well-groomed sorority girl. She was utterly oblivious to the rank odor emanating from her junk. There was discharge. I pulled a strip from her lower labia, near her vaginal opening, and what I can most accurately describe as the contents of a large Cadbury cream egg stuck to the edge of the strip and splattered on the wall behind me. She remained blissfully ignorant of the bacterial projectile. What in the frick? Jeez. Not my story, but my aunt's. When she was in school to become an esthetician, the students would do cheap waxes on walk-in clients to help them learn. The first time she did a Brazilian, she noticed long red scratch marks as she was waxing the girl. Initially, she was worried she was doing something wrong, but neglected to say anything because the girl didn't seem in pain or anything. What she thought were scratches turned out to be part of a larger tattoo that covered the girl's entire vulva. It said Bad Kitty and featured claw marks. Once she finished school, she limited her waxing to face only. During my first full Brazilian, I asked the worker if she has had any horrible disturbing experiences. She replied, "I'm having one right now." She was joking, I think. It's funny this is NSW even though you're all talking about work. How ironic. Oh boy, are you guys in for a treat. I'm currently training as a beautician and work part-time in a beauty salon, so I've heard plenty of horror stories. But the one my teacher told me was definitely the worst. She had a woman come in wanting a Hollywood, all hair gone, but she seemed nervous about it because she said she had really dark, coarse hair. She thought sure no problem. She's done plenty of Hollywoods before. There's nothing she hasn't seen. Or so she thought. My teacher leaves the girl to get ready, and when she comes back and she notices a foul smell, she doesn't say anything and begins to go about the usual procedure of the wax. Remember I said the client had dark, coarse hair? Well, she had so much of it that my teacher never noticed that not all of it was hair. She applies the wax, pulls one strip and immediately feels like she's going to pass out. Connected to the wax strip is a big string of dark brown goo. She said she disposed of the strip as quick as possible and tried to clean up the mess caused by the gunk coming from this woman's vagina. Then asked her what the heck was going on down there. Apparently the girl said she was too embarrassed to go to a doctor about it and thought if she just got waxed it would get it all out. Safe to say, nobody in my class is too excited to start specialized waxing. A woman in her 40s came in, and 5 centimeters of her intestines were sticking out of her anus inside out. She told us she had pushed so hard when she gave birth that she pushed it out. Finally, it's my time to shine. There are 2 that I'll never forget. 1. The seemingly normal, average 20-something-year-old girl who apparently had no idea that her vagina butthole needed to be cleaned. A lot of women are kind of gross, but this one, she had her period, had an insane amount of discharge, and looked like she never wiped her ass. When I did the strips on her butt crack, there was poop on them afterwards. 2. The old man who would come in for Brazilian laser treatments. He was pretty weird from the get-go, like an older, flamboyant Jeffrey Rush. The first 2 times he came in, he got hard while I was lasering him. Guys get hard during waxes sometimes. You get used to it and they're more embarrassed than you are usually. The 3rd time this guy came in, I was on my last few rows when all of a sudden he made a noise. I looked up, and he had ejaculated on his stomach. I very quickly did my last 3 or 4 pops with the laser, told him he was done, and left the room. I called my manager and told her what happened and he was never seen again. He didn't even tip me. Also, the amount of women that fart while you're waxing them is unbelievable. They always get so embarrassed and I tell them it happens all the time. You're clenching, holding your knees up to your chest for part of it, it's bound to happen sooner or later. My sister is an esthetician and when she was in training she had a woman come in for a Brazilian wax. She was prepping her for the waxing, which involved cleansing the pubic area with an alcoholic base cleanser. As she did this, hundreds of crabs scattered from the woman's bush. Turns out the woman had no idea she had crabs and had to find out then that her husband was most likely cheating on her and passed them on to her. This is a money dog. Upvote in the next 24 hours and money will come your way. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video. Or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.